Alright, obviously I'm gonna open up Photoshop. I'm using CS6 extended. I open up my image and I basically just immediately start healing the image. That's the first thing I go for. Sometimes if I'm gonna do a frequency separation, I'll obviously start that process. But this time I wanted to get straight into it because I kind of knew how I wanted the image to end up. So yeah, I'm just healing the image, going around her ear, cleaning up some of the stray hairs. I don't want to get them all. I don't want it to look fake, like a Revlon advertisement or something. But I want it to be a little bit more polished than what it is. So what I did was had the makeup artist kind of just rough in this idea, this series of images. If you go to my website, www.klphoto.biz, you'll be able to see the final series. But the motivation behind it, or inspiration behind it, was birds of prey. So we looked at some of I started looking at some of the birds, and it was like, these are beautiful. So what I wanted her to do was kind of lay the foundation for me, put some color on there. And this series was a series of 6 or 7 different looks, but they just subtly kind of changed from one look to the next. So we started very bare bones, and as you see the series progress, as you flip through the images, you'll see how it kind of started very, very plain and very bare bones, very rough, and it ended up sort of elaborate. It's not as elaborate as a stage look, or like you're gonna do a movie, you're shooting at certain distances, so you need the makeup to be really thick. We didn't really make any changes for that. I'm still just healing, going around her lips, kind of cleaning that area up. And what you'll see me do later in the screen cap is start to color this stuff in. Now, the way I work in Photoshop, I layer everything. I kind of plan color layers in advance. I heal to a point, then I stop, because I know in advance if a rough edge is going to show, or if something is going to stand out in it, to where I need to either get it as close to perfect as possible, or I can leave it rough, like I just did that little shadow area. I don't know if you saw that. You might need to go back and take a look at it, but you'll see me go in and kind of spot heal within that dark little spot right to camera left, top left. Here, I think I started painting. Yeah. I started painting in layers of color. I'm gonna layer some blues and some greens. I'm gonna layer the reds in there, because this bird that I'm using for inspiration, I forgot what it's called, but it's kind of iridescent. It looks like different colors and different light. So, the light that I saw it in, that was inspiring me to finish this image this way, is very dark, right by the bird's ear. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but the side of his head is very dark, and then it fades into this white, iridescent, kind of shimmery kind of look. So what I wanted to do was just modify this in Photoshop. I didn't want there to be too much makeup, and the white is actually really thin face paint that the makeup artist decided to use. The makeup artist is my sister. Her company is Sublime Beauty on the Go, and you can find her on Facebook, Instagram. Just type in Sublime BOG in Instagram and you'll find her, or just Casey Michelle or Casey Lanier, same as my last name, on Facebook, and you'll find her. And you'll also find links to her work and her other works And we've had a significant amount of shoots, or a decent amount of shoots at this point. She just moved back to Cincinnati from Atlanta, so yeah. Here I'm just gonna be, you're gonna see many layers of me blending and copying the layer and then blending and then painting, going back to heal different areas, blending different areas in. You'll see me switch through from spot healing to the, I mean, it's still a healing brush. I don't know what it's called actually, where you have to sample an area. You know, you'll see me turn on layers. I apply almost every layer. It doesn't matter whether it's a mask, doesn't matter. I just apply it because it, to me, almost pushes it onto whatever the object is or subject is that you're adding a layer to. And this really works best when it's a people portrait. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter though. You can do it. I've done it with cars. I've done it with, pool, like billiards balls on a table. So this thing kind of just helps things transition. Like, look, it pushes everything almost into place. Like, this is where it needs to be. So you'll see me expand that blue because it's just in certain areas. It's not everywhere, but I'm not trying to get the bird 100%. This is an art piece. This entire thing, it's like an editorial. It's an art piece. So it's my interpretation. I'm going really bold, really contrasty. But I'll subdue it a little later. Just relax. It looks crazy. Some people would think that looks cool. I think it does. It's very different, but I have to just kind of balance things out a little bit according to my taste. You'll see me do that, flip things on, group things. Just kind of, this is what I wanted to say with this video. I didn't want to have a plan. I didn't want to be reading off a piece of paper to tell you exactly what I did step by step, because that's not the point. The point is to get to know Photoshop. Use it the way you're comfortable using it. I was taught how to use Photoshop. Actually, I taught myself how to use Photoshop because I've been using it for so long. I just never used it for images until about 5 years ago. That's when I kind of got off into photography. But I dabbled in graphic design before that, and web design and things like that, because I was into music. So I needed to produce my own pieces, and then I started doing it for other people. Making little business cards, postcards, flyers, just pretty much whatever, banners, advertisements, little, newspaper ads, little, just whatever I could get into, really. But when I went to the Art Institute and then later to Antonelli College in Cincinnati downtown, they kind of refined my Photoshop education. So I learned where everything was, and I learned it the way I guess you're supposed to use it in front of other professionals so you don't look like an idiot. But I then dumbed that down to allow myself to get 100% comfortable. It's just comfortable. So I do things out of order. This is an unplanned retouch. So when I went in, I had this idea as to what I wanted the image to look like. I didn't necessarily have a plan as to how I was going to get there. I knew I had to layer some colors. I knew I was going to be bringing in a little bit of tones into the highlights and shadow areas, just to kind of switch it up a little bit, and then bring it back into a general balance, and then subdue the color all together, just to finish out the look for me the way I saw it in my head. Might be weird, but you'll see me flip back and forth between the original and this one, so that I can bring the natural skin tones back, and some of the different colors in the shadow areas. And it's getting close to what I want to see, but you'll see me expand a little bit. It was suggested that I might expand the blue just a little bit and kind of blend it in a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here on this part of the video. I see people do things like use tons of actions. I'm not really the action guy. I don't like actions. I have a few. I've had to create sets. I made a set to sell to someone who wanted to know how to, quickly add contrast, bring up the different color tools that I customize myself. I've sold a few colleagues some of my action sets that I've had to create. I had to learn how to do it in school, but then, and then turn in some assignments like that. But then I just kind of got a little bit deeper into the creation of action sets and just different step-by-step things that you can almost apply to any image. But I don't use them myself anymore, so I'll create these things and I'll love them, but I just don't use them. My process has to be a little bit more fluid. I come up with these things and I create the action so I don't forget what I did. So it's almost like me taking notes, but I don't use those in my work. I like to keep it fluid. I want to be able to bounce from tool to tool, decide what I want to do. What do I want to do with the color? Or how many layers of control do I want to have over this image? That's why I keep duplicating and making groups and adding on top of the group, and then opening a group, and then opening a layer mask over the entire group to work with the layers underneath that one. I just want to make these decisions on the fly, period. I don't want to stop. I don't want to be, where was that action set? Oh, I'm working with black and white. I want to kind of, I don't want to have to think about that kind of stuff. I want to just be listening to music and, coming up with a product.